Welcome everybody, I'm Joshino, and today we're going to be diving into another spicy speculation as we go through some of the data mining done for the next patch, Open Beta 69. I know folks, Open Beta 68 has only hit the PTS, but data miners look into the files and see what's coming next in basically whatever files they can dig up on the patch. So that's what we're going through today. Now, there's only a few things so far that have come out, and actually some of the bigger data miners in the past few patches haven't released their data mines, so there might even be a second spicy speculation very soon. But I'm just going to go over the first set, and some of the things that I think are maybe trends going with this patch. Also in the background footage, folks, is probably my best match so far on the new Ascension Peak event on Xin, who I said perhaps was worse in my last video, and was talking about how the Magistrate were maybe underpowered currently, especially as Cauterize doesn't work. And unless hi-rez fix that in the next day, a little tip for everybody, the Guillotine Legendary card for Xin works very well, and focusing getting your ultimate off on Buck and Inara seems to give you a chance to win, a higher chance to win as the Magistrate. I did actually make a mistake. Instead of getting morale boost, I got Chronos for cooldown reduction, which was a bit silly. But all in all, this match went very well, so I hope you enjoy that, and that's just a little tip there. Plus, all of the data mining sources will be in the comments section below, so you can check that out if you want to. It'll be in a Google document. So first of all, Khan, the champion that is coming in Open Beta 69, is practically in the game for all intensive purposes, but you can't actually play him or access him to actually play around with him, but all his data files are there. I'm guessing hi-rez kept him back because this was a massive patch with a massive event, and I guess they didn't want to take away from that. Maybe there's still some tweaking they had to do with him, last minute adjustments and things like that. But we know the abilities now. So we already knew about Khan's main weapon, the Repeater. Khan's ultimate fire is Bulwark. Activate your Gauntlet's Bulwark with 6,000 health and regenerates while inactive. What a Bulwark is, it's basically a defensive wall. So practically he's going to have some form of wall that protrudes in front of him, and the way it'll work is it'll lose its health and regenerate whilst it's inactive. Actually, this is something that I picked up on in Overwatch's latest champion, Brigitte, and she has a shield that does something very similar, regenerates while it is off of her. Honestly, at this point, I think the comparisons are only there for intrigue of gameplay and not saying anyone copied each other. So that's what I'm using it for, folks. I know that I saw a lot of people saying that the UI was copied from Overwatch recently, but again, it's quite simple concept, so all of my thumbnails pretty much go from the basic concept of having a subject, having a background, and having some text. The menu system for Overwatch, things like Counter-Strike and other games like that work very similarly too. Khan's escape, or well, it's his F on computer, is Battle Shout. Let out a fearsome shout, granting CC immunity to you and healing yourself and nearby allies for 800 health over 4 seconds. It's almost a bit like the emoji's Toot, but with also buffing yourself up a bit. And it's interesting that he's sort of merging a bit over to the support role there. It's not a ridiculous amount of health, it's 200 every second, but that's just a little bit of survivability right there. The next ability is Commander's Grab. You surge forward, grabbing, stunning, and throwing the first enemy you come into contact with, which deals 400 damage. So there's actually two abilities that are very similar. So Khan's E is Overpower. Target an enemy and drag them to you. You may move your powerless victim as you see fit, or send them flying with a Mighty Strike. I actually had spicy speculation before on this one and said I thought that the hook on his left hand was something along these lines that would pull people in, but it might only be just that in the ultimate. But it seems something like the Makoa hook, but instead of just having them pulled towards you, you can also throw them. Now currently on the Paladins PTS for Open Beta 68, there's a Khan intro for the start of the matches, and what Khan does is he picks up Viktor and throws him off the edge of a cliff. And this looks a lot like, to me, like Commander's Grab, rather than the Overpower, seeing as he doesn't actually use any weapons during this ability. I'm guessing that with his Overpower, he pulls them in with his sort of grappling hook thing, and pulls them into him, and then chucks them. But it could just be a merging of the two abilities. It looks like he's just grabbing them and throwing them away. One of the commenters on my last YouTube video actually gave a little bit of a lore theory on why Viktor was thrown over the edge as well, seeing as Viktor is part of the Magistrate. So this is from Scully Boy. Here's my theory. Viktor refuses to follow his orders, probably to execute any resistance / people, and when he refuses, Khan kills him. He survives and runs into the forest where he dies, but then Sarah saves him, which is in her teaser trailer, and then he joins the Paladins. He posted on Reddit, if anyone was wondering. I think that's a bit far-fetched, but it is a spicy speculation video, so I thought it fit in there. And the problem here is that Ceres is actually fighting on the top with this whole big battle, the Siege of Ascension's Peak. Might be the hole in that theory. All in all, Khan sounds like he is going to be an interesting champion. Again, he's coming in Open Beta 69, the next patch, probably in another few weeks. My thoughts are that he does have some ability in his surging forward and grabbing and knocking back. I think he'll fall somewhere between a mixture of Ashe, Torvald, and Fernando. The shield of Fernando, but perhaps not as powerful if it's going to go down pretty quickly and you have to wait for it to recharge. Some of the base survivability of Torvald in the way he heals himself, and touches of the Ashe's displacement in the map, but perhaps not as much as the Ashe can do, or any of these can do. I'm guessing they're going to be like a combination of all three, maybe fitting into a new snug frontliner role. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comment section below. Something interesting to speculate on here is there's a new deathmatch map being worked on called Pirate, and if you recall a while ago, hi-rez sort of teased with the removal of parts and pieces and the new skin system a load of pirate skins. Now, there's already a pirate barrack skin in the game currently, and what the hi-rez have said is that this Asiatic themed map and event is going to last for about a month, or 2 patches basically, so maybe a bit more than that. So could this be the next coming? Could there be a pirate themed event? I mean, we've already got stuff to go with that, like the swashbuckling barrack and the ghost pirate Makoa, so I think that could work out, and especially with those skins that they were showing off, I'd be well up for that. I just hope that the next deathmatch map isn't so long and isn't so ridiculously good for snipers. I know that it's nice to snipe on those maps, but also it's very hard to engage as a flanker, or maybe even just making there better options to flank with. Another thing that could be related to this is there's an item called Kraken Kill Card, with the description kills anyone hit by the Kraken anchor after 0.8 seconds. Which sounds, and here Bakugo, who is the source for this, that this might be for a PvE mode, and perhaps even for this pirate mode. I mean, Kraken, pirates, that theme could work very well. Could you be fighting a Kraken whilst fighting off enemies around you? I mean, the current theme of the event is that you are fighting each other whilst there's loads of trebuchet projectiles hitting the ground and doing damage. So could there be a Kraken in the middle and some NPC spawning whilst you're still fighting an enemy team? That could be rather ridiculous. There's also 2 new siege maps in the works, Super Rift and Salty Springs, that are already test maps before. Funnily, Salty Springs obviously is a Fortnite location. On the skin front, we already know about Galactic Scion and RoboForce, but there's a new skin for Maeve called Striker. Is this a football skin? Perhaps. And the Bomb King skin that we've talked about before is called Love Machine, and the weapon's called Love Machine's Wingmen, and the voice pack I've already talked about in the last spicy speculation. However, the new skin that we haven't heard about is Ying, and she has one called Carnival, and the weapon is called Carnival Party Starter and is obtainable in the Valentine's chest. I'm not entirely sure what sort of carnival they're starting off here. Is it some sort of love carnival? Will you be able to shoot like heart bubble beams out of your weapon? I'm not entirely sure there. But that's interesting that perhaps there is a Valentine's chest coming, and perhaps this Bomb King Love Machine is going to go inside it as well. There's also an Exarch Genos skin, and this one has a very elaborate codpiece, so I'm wondering whether this one's coming with the Valentine's chest. Who knows? It does look very sci-fi though, as if it's almost come out of a different game, but with their more wild skins now, this is again showing what they are capable of. Another thing that's been data mined is Moji's Mastery skins, or cosmetics, have also been added. So apart from these things that are hard data mined from the files, there's been a bit of a slip up with the current version of the PTS, where Viktor has had a new rifle, or a new rifle skin, and this is for the default rifle. Currently it works on any of the recolors and also the golden weapon. It's this sort of more chunky and more elaborate weapon. It's hard to tell exactly whether it's fancy or not. There's not a current proper texture on it at the moment, so it does look a bit derpy, but it is a move away from the original skin. So is there going to be a whole rework for Viktor coming? Perhaps not next patch. Maybe that's something that they've got working down the line. hi-rez Chris actually asked not long ago on Twitter which champions people wanted to be reworked and that they were looking into that. And Viktor, I think, is one of the champions that's a bit boring and a bit bland in the game currently, and maybe doesn't quite fit in with the fantasy theme, so I think this is probably a move towards reworking how Viktor looks at the very least. Another thing worth mentioning is that this current patch, Open Beta 68, Cauterize is broken, so you can't use it at all. Now, this could be just taken as they've just broken Cauterize, or perhaps they have been tweaking around with the Cauterize values or how Cauterize works as an item. Why I say this is because they've put in almost every character's kit some sort of inbuilt reduced healing. So almost every character can have Cauterize built into their kit, so I don't know whether they're going to rebalance Cauterize and making it less strong by maybe even making the item weaker, or make the item you buy in game maybe more expensive, so that the cards in your loadout might be more valuable, and you might have to sort of balance to meet the requirement to reduce healing between your loadout and the items you get in game. That's very spicy speculation and very out there. It's actually interesting playing the game at the moment because it's so different, because there's no reduced healing currently in the game. So all heals are going through, and the time to kill at the moment is pretty ridiculous as long as you do get the heals, and you can keep people up forever, especially the tanks. It is interesting because obviously, another comparison again to Overwatch, that game doesn't have any of these items in the game, it doesn't have Cauterize, and it does change the dynamic up quite a bit. It does sometimes feel a little bit derpy at the moment, and some of the characters are completely broken, to be honest. It's interesting trying to watch a Eevee with a Sarah's healing them all the time, and also their heals and their blinks never being affected by the Cauterize. They can pretty much wreak havoc at the moment, especially as their projectiles have been buffed. Anyway, again, be sure to let me know all of your spicy speculation in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more of my content, and hit that bell icon to become part of the notification squad. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Joshino.